All right. Hi there. Welcome to my Other's Keeper. Tonight we're going to be talking with Melanie and her daughter Lauren. Hi, how you doing? Are you going to say hello, Melanie? There we go.
Oh,
We're going
yes,
to
hi
talk about
from
something
yep,
that, yeah, you're right in there. It's all good. Um, we're going to be talking about something called microcephaly, which is an affliction that has struck her daughter Lauren, Melanie's daughter Lauren, and it is something that has made life difficult. But fortunately, because of the work that Melanie and Lauren have put into it, it's not made life impossible. So I'd really like to, say thank you so much, first of all, for being willing to come. I appreciate that.
thank you.
And
Yep, we love sharing.
well, that's the thing is I know that you had to do a lot of advocacy on behalf of your daughter because there was absolutely nothing around beforehand.
Yep.
So why don't you give us a quick breakdown? What on earth is microcephaly and how do you get it?
Okay, well, I had never heard of it actually. Like really in my peripheral, never really heard of it until the doctor brought it up. And so how there's many ways to get it. Lauren quit breathing at birth, and that's called cerebral anoxia, is how she came about with microcephaly. So, microcephaly is a small head, microanencephaly. So, the small head, and so her head is in the second percentile when you take your baby in and they say they're in this percentile. So, her body's in the 50th, which is right normal, and her head is in the second. So, to her for her fortunately it's not severe, so to look at her you wouldn't see it.
No.
Back in the day it was called shrunken head syndrome.
Mm,
But that was a yeah, it's an ugly term and
no doubt.
it's not used anymore, thank goodness, but it was for more severe cases. But with Lawrence, so she quit breathing, and so that she was deprived of oxygen long enough that it caused some of her brain isn't all wired 100%. So, and you can get it through the Zika virus. You can get it through troubles during pregnancy. There's no cure. There's 100%
Right.
no cure. There's only therapies and living with it. And I mean, I guess if you get it through the Zika virus, you can protect yourself by not going to the countries that have those mosquitoes or where there's a high chance
Yeah.
or all of that. But yeah, so Lauren unfortunately had it right from birth, right from day one. And we didn't quite catch on to it till she was 4, till
Okay.
there was, we just noticed she was behind in school, and she would, in play school, she would sound out words on a page, figure it out like you do in preschool, and flip the page, and it's like she'd never seen the word. So
Mm,
we were like, okay, she's not remembering, she's not catching on to things. And we were just starting to think like, what do we do? But socially she was still doing all right, functioning. She's a social butterfly, so that wasn't a problem. And then it wasn't until grade 1 where the teacher's like, yeah, there's something there, like you're onto something. And so from age 4 to age 10 is when we went after a diagnosis. And that was 6 of the most painful years of being a
that's
parent.
a long time.
Yeah.
Wow.
When you're told, well, she doesn't look disabled,
Yeah, I know.
we got that a lot.
Yeah.
And it's just, she was what they call a cusp kid. So she was not severe enough, didn't meet the mandate, too high functioning, all those phrases we got for, well, we still get those to this day.
Yeah.
um and so that's when my advocacy started, that okay, you know and normally I'd be like, well, she's the same person with or without the diagnosis, but
Yeah.
unfortunately you need to have a diagnosis and a doctor saying this is it, to get any funding, to get any support, to get any therapy, to get, even understanding in school,
Absolutely.
having to say she has microcephaly. She can't help the way she is, like,
Yeah.
she's beautiful and just she thinks differently. and she
Yeah.
learns differently. And the acceptance came when we got that piece of paper. So
It's amazing what a
it's
piece of
kind of
paper can do, right? Like, you can be a brilliant person, but not have that doctorate and you know nothing. You can
yep,
be a person who is broken, who needs specific help and
yep,
can't get it because you don't have that little piece of paper, right?
yep,
ADHD is classic. It happens a
yep,
lot. Um, and for my girls, neither of them were diagnosed in school, but the school that our girls went to was excellent at simply giving ADHD accommodations without even asking twice. Like, if you can't concentrate in the classroom, sit in the hallway, do it
yep,
there. Or if you need to spend 2 hours instead of half an hour to write your test, go for it. We'll wait.
yep.
They're amazing that way, but it doesn't work that way with microcephaly, does it?
No, well, the school actually, um, I always say that God gave Lauren the right teacher every year she needed it. Um, I mean, I don't want to throw any teachers under the bus or anything, but like the school was phenomenal for her.
Hmm.
And they even said, like the school division found out that we were going after a medical diagnosis. So we were doing genetic testing because they were sure it was Fragile X. A
Oh,
little
isn't
clinical
that
Fragile
usually with
X.
males?
Well, it's predominant in males because it attacks the X chromosome, but because women
Right.
are XX, and
Yeah.
the geneticist said, well, it's predominant in Mennonites. He goes, is there any Mennonite in your background? And Trevor, my husband, and I went, well, okay, here we go. Mennonite, 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 like all the way up the tree. And the doctor's eyes got big, like, oh, this was going to be his case study. Like I mean,
Hmm.
she hit all the symptoms, but it came back that no, it wasn't that. And they thought it was trisomy 21, which is in the Down syndrome family. Um, so they did all those tests and we found out more what it wasn't. And
Hmm.
then through our journey, like, we actually went to Manitoba to get some of the, because we were technically still on a wait list here in Saskatchewan for some stuff, because it's just there's a
Yeah.
lineup and wait for everything. So
Yeah.
they did the stuff in Manitoba and they didn't find anything. And then we got called here in Saskatchewan. So we went and the doctor took one look at her and said, well, have you measured her head? I'm like, well, I've taken her to the doctor and they've always measured it, but they never did the scale. He took one look at her and said, she's got microcephaly, measured her head, did all the symptoms, did other blood tests, and then, yep. So,
Wow. Just needed the right
it's just,
person at the right time, right?
it was the right person, it was the right time. And when the school division found out we were doing medical, they kind of said, well, we don't want to expend money on support. If it's medical, we don't have to pay for it. So that was infuriating to the teachers because they're like, whether she has a diagnosis or not, she still needs help. So our school was phenomenal. They worked really well. The special education resource teachers were just phenomenal. And I would go in and talk to every teacher at the beginning of the year saying, this is the Lauren manual I have. So it's not
Hey,
perfect,
at
but it,
least you had one. Most parents don't.
well, it was, yeah. I wouldn't even say manual. I always say her manual got lost in the mail somewhere. So
Yeah, fair.
yeah, so it was phenomenal the way the teachers supported her and realized she just learns differently.
Mhm.
And it was phenomenal that they're like, does she need to know all the intricacies of like everything science? They're like, no, like let's just pare it down.
Yeah,
And uh for tests, they were either oral or transcribed or multiple
perfect.
choice.
Oh,
And
yeah.
or actually sometimes they just said do a final project. Like in grade 4,
Mm,
they're like, here, do a whole project on an ecosystem. And the teacher told me, she said, I know she got it. It learned because the it was phenomenal. Like,
wonderful.
so yeah, I appreciated stuff like that. And again,
Yeah.
it was me going into the school saying, like, what as a parent can I do to help to support you? Because learning at home was hard. Mhm.
Yeah.
Homework was an issue.
Mhm.
Yeah. So then teachers are like, well, then I won't send homework home because I said it's gonna be really bad. And
Yeah.
so they just
Yeah, if you're
yeah,
gonna rely on the homework coming home and then going back, you're not
yeah,
gonna get a true picture of what she can really do.
yeah, yeah. And they told us, they said it like spend half an hour on this, and if it's more than that, shut it down. Don't frustrate her, any more than we have to. And then when we were getting into the junior high school years, you're starting
Mhm,
to look ahead,
mhm.
and they're like, let's just get her through school as unscathed as possible. So let's just, she doesn't need all the sciences. She doesn't need all the math. Like math is the hardest thing for her.
Yeah,
Memorizing abstract stuff. I mean, like you tell somebody any number times 10 is the number with a zero. She can't comprehend that.
right.
So it was fantastic that we're like, let's give her life skills. She learned how to use a computer. She learned how to use a calculator. She learned about time, math, measurements. So she spent time in the Bethany kitchen when Bethany Bible Institute was running. And I mean, it was phenomenal stuff, and they gave her credit for it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, she
Well,
graduated with an no, not the old. She graduated with an alternative diploma, not a modified. So if she ever
mm,
needs anything, she just goes to upgrade what she needs. So
really? Okay. That's good. And
yeah.
this, extra work in the kitchen and stuff reminds me of some really amazing desserts that I've had. Hmm. Tell me about your business twinkle treats.
Oh, want me to help you out? So she started, we'll start with the horse thing because that's kind of where
Sure,
it
okay,
led
yeah,
to. So
yeah.
we got introduced to equilibrium therapeutic riding, which is in Grunthal, Saskatchewan. And so she started riding there and doing therapy. That was the year Prairie Spirit pulled all their funding from that. So we're just like, of course that would happen. And it's expensive, rightfully so, because I
Oh,
mean,
for sure,
there's a lot of costs that go into owning and caring for a horse.
for
So in
sure.
order to keep going, we're like, well, we need to earn money. She needs to kind of earn money and do something, but she doesn't drive.
Mhm,
So we had a girl who was living with us for a summer, and we had gone to a place and they have ice cream tacos. And she's like,
mhm,
you should make
mhm.
those. I'm like, I can't make those. And she's like, you should make those. So we did. So what's the ice cream taco? What is it made? How, like, exactly is it? It's a waffle cone shell, brushed with chocolate, with ice cream, and dipped in more chocolate and sprinkles.
Oh, they are
So,
amazing. Oh my goodness.
and it's unique, and it's
Yeah.
something you can kind of make ahead. And so she did that every summer from May to September, and she paid for all her therapy riding herself for the year. For the year.
Wow.
Plus, the first year she did it, we kept track of everything, and the teacher said, okay, well, let's learn about math. That was her math,
Yeah.
learning costs, sales and all of that. So that was a massive life skill. Plus, it's handling money and counting
Oh, for
money
sure.
and
Oh, for
dealing with
sure.
people. And, so she's done it 4 years now. Yeah. This last summer was a little bit less just because she was on the move so much, but
Yeah.
it's been, and I'm a barterer. I'm like, hey, I'll trade you the service for like 6 tacos, and they're like, done.
Exactly. They're worth
But
their weight in ice cream, let me tell you. Oh my
it's
word.
hard having a whole freezer full of them. Yeah, our last house, my craft room was right in line with the freezer, and I'd stare at that freezer full of tacos all day long, and I was just like, oh, because ice cream is
Oh.
it's like a food group in our family.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yes,
So,
mint chip, my weakness,
ah,
espresso chip.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep,
Oh, so good.
yeah.
So
And you
you're
don't
go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead.
The Twinkle Treats, how did you come up with that name?
I don't know. We were Googling stuff and I was Googling stuff and throwing words out. And then it just kind of started because she's our ray of sunshine. She's
Mhm.
affectionately known because there's always a smile on this one. And it just kind of started from there. And then, like, there, she's the twinkle in her eye type of thing. And then Twinkle Treats. And then I did all the searches, like, on the internet if I could find it. And there was nothing in Canada, to my knowledge, that had a Facebook page that
Wow.
was on social media anywhere. And I was just
Perfect.
like, Twinkle Treats. It if you know this one,
It's so
it fits.
her. Yeah, absolutely. It is so
So
you, Lauren. Oh my goodness. You're twinkly and
yeah,
you're a treat.
yeah. She's sweet. She's our
She
sweetheart.
is.
So yeah, it
Absolutely.
literally it there's no special meaning behind it.
Okay.
So but yeah, it was good and it was yeah, so I got a big banner made on Vistaprint and we put it on the side of our old pickup truck and that was the Tweetmobile. And we took that around the towns and had a cooler and I would ask friends, I'll pay you 6 tacos if I can park in your driveway some
Yeah.
evening, and most people said yes. Well, everybody said
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
So we went
Yeah.
to like Warman, Downley, Waltime, um, Martinsville, and then Hepburn. We were at a few places, and then
If that offer
we
is
got
still open,
invited.
I'll host you anytime. Just saying.
That might have to happen because we don't live in town, or well, we don't live in Hepburn
Mhm.
anymore, but
Mhm.
but and then we had the chance to go with Classy, CLASI, which is an organization that helps adults with disabilities. And so we were there one summer. They had a festival in one of the parks, and it was 35 degrees out. So, you meet all sorts of people that way. And for us to
Yeah.
tell her story, to
Yeah.
explain why we're doing this, we had a poster that was right front and center that said, like, this is why we're doing it. And I shouldn't have to do that, but I felt I needed the understanding because people would look at her and just think, well, why is she the way she is? Like,
Yeah.
and yeah, and that's where as my mama heart kind of hurt because I'm like, she was bullied by exclusion in school. People didn't
Mhm.
understand her, so
Mhm.
they just wouldn't try, and that's where the frustration and came. So to find the people who like to understand and open people's minds and hearts to inclusion, to hidden disability inclusion,
Yeah.
that's going to be my lifelong fight because
Absolutely.
it doesn't end with her. I mean, and hidden disability, I mean, that's mental health, that's diabetes,
Mhm.
that's fibromyalgia,
Crohn's
that's
disease,
like
colitis, it's fibromyalgia, it's
exactly. I'm like,
all of these.
it's everything. And the amount of miles and money we have spent, I part of me, like, there was a time when I was angry and I was just like, I want my money back. Like, why am I the one paying for my kid to fit into this world when the world, like I always say, like she's a round hole trying to get in a square peg. And like,
Mhm.
why aren't we shaving the world to make it round so everybody fits? There's a
Yeah.
place for everybody. And like we had to find her place because sports was hard because her reaction time isn't there. Well, if you
Yeah.
don't play sports in a small school, you kind of,
You're kinda out of
you
it.
know, you're
Both of
kind of
my girls both
you're
of my
kind of
girls
automatically out of a group. So
that's right. My girls did a sport that was outside of a school sport. They did taekwondo,
yeah,
and, they really kind of lost out on the whole team mentality, but at the same
yep,
time, they're not team mentality people, you
yep,
know? And
yep,
they were still very active, they were still very smart and strong and did all of these
hmm,
things, just not in our small school. So,
yeah.
yeah, that's a tough one right there.
It's so tough to watch, and
Mhm,
that's where I actually had to grieve. As a parent, I literally, when we got the word and the diagnosis, part of me was like, yes, all right. And the other side is like, there's so many things she's not going to get to do in life because she can't. And there's just certain milestones that as a parent you can't wait to see them hit these, and you want her to be on the school basketball team because that's what I did. And I give her great kudos. She tried basketball. Her coach was amazing in junior high, but they kind of were like, she kind of shouldn't go on because it was a danger for her. Like she was getting beamed in the head with a basketball because she didn't have the reflexes.
Yeah,
So stuff like that. And I had to grieve, and I got angry. I'm like, why am I the one doing all the work? In your own mind when you're in your own head that way.
absolutely. Yeah,
And so I was kind of angry for a while and just realized that, you know what, God gave her a special gift, and this one has a way with people that you can't teach anybody. And she's just an empathetic soul, and you can't teach someone empathy. It's
that's right.
just easy, and so we've learned that we just had to find what suited her, and it wasn't team sports. We tried
Mhm,
skating. It
mhm.
it was all right. But then we started with dance, which was better because you're individual, but you're still part of a group, an
Yes.
ensemble. And then we
Yep.
found cheer. The cheer abilities team in Warman, Warman Ultimate Cheer. I have to give a plug. Leslie Stevenson is the owner there, and she started the cheer abilities. Team Citrine is what they're called, and she carved a place for them on their big, like, I don't know how many
Wow.
teams she's got. Like they're all named after gems, like there's sapphires and peridot and all that.
Mm.
And she said Team Citrine made them complete. And the first year it was kind of hard. We had to break some barriers down, but it's been phenomenal because these kids who normally wouldn't get to compete are on a stage with thousands of people watching them. Support. I'm like, the very first cheer competition, all of us cheerability moms were there with sunglasses because we were just like ugly crying because
Yeah.
our girls are up there doing like just happy and just like they're feeling the music, and to see how far some of them have come from being autistic and having other diagnoses and like not liking loud noises to like
Mhm.
adapting. And it's phenomenal. So to see your kid find their thing, and it might be a team sport, it might be like there's painting, there's you know
Yep.
jewelry making, there's
Yep.
like everything. And to find that and to get the support, and then Leslie worked with all the other teams on acceptance of the Citrine team. And now when Citrine goes on, all the teams come if they can, and they're lining the stage, and they're just it's unreal. I'm gonna
That
start
is
reading it
so
because it's just
awesome.
phenomenal. It was a phenomenal feeling, and it was the first time where I'm like, she's found her people.
Well,
It
a lot of
was.
people assume cheerleaders are really shallow and really
Yep,
aren't there for anybody else. They're just there for their own little sparkle time,
yep,
whatever.
yep.
That hasn't been your experience, has it?
No, like I said, Leslie, the way she runs her cheer, like it like everyone's accountable for your actions, and there's acceptance. And I mean there's still girl stuff,
Well,
teenagers are
yeah.
teenagers, like it
Yeah.
it is what it is, and some of it comes from the parents. So that's been my frustration, is that I think some
Mm.
parents need retraining. They should go to the therapy that I've had to take Lauren to learn how to understand and accept. You don't need
Yep.
to be her best friend, but she deserves a space and a place and to thrive just as much as
Mhm.
everybody else. And
Mhm.
like I said, the warm and ultimate cheer, I was like, I can't say enough good things. And unfortunately, we're the only cheer abilities team in Saskatchewan. So we'd love it if that could grow. But
Well,
so
right now, what are you focusing on growing, Lauren? What is the passion that has been fulfilling you lately?
dressage, of course, is.
Okay, so what is dressage?
And she's gonna look at me. When you have hockey and you have the skills part, where they all have to
Uh-huh.
learn. Dressage is kind of like a skill part. It's the art of becoming one with your horse, and you're doing movements and stuff, usually, oh, not usually, sometimes to music, but there's tests. And so you're doing, and they grow in more difficulty the higher up the levels you go. So it's like ballet on a horse, really. But you
Nice.
have to, yeah, it's the
So what's your
skills, it's the basis of horseback riding.
so what's your favorite part of dressage? Do you have a favorite skill?
Um, I really like cantering.
Yeah, cantering. She's working on the canter loop
Yeah,
right now,
canter
and the counter canter.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm still
Okay.
learning too what all of these are.
It's all up
She
here for
would
me,
love,
so
yeah, she would love to do a freestyle to music. She did one freestyle test, and what you see in the Olympics, like the freestyles, like that's where you see the
mm,
horses actually dancing. And it's like
mhm.
you can feel like, because you have to time the music to the beat, and you have
Yep.
three different cadences you need the walk, the trot, the canter. And so to find music to each beat, and then like it's a lot of editing for that music because I did it, and because they're going from canter to trot to walk to, like you're moving up. But once you see it together, it's just like it's beautiful. It's
Wow.
harder than you think.
Oh, no, it's as hard as I would think because there's no way you're getting me up on a horse. Just saying.
I know
I've been up
it's
there, I have fallen off. I did get right back up, but that's because it was a long way back to the house.
uh
Um, yeah, but
yeah.
that's really the only reason. Do you fall
Well,
off the horse very much, Lauren?
Yeah,
Yeah?
she has.
many, many times.
Yeah,
That's why they have those helmets, right?
yeah, yeah. Except when you face plant. In
Oh,
the she
how's
landed.
your
Yeah, the
nose?
last time she landed. Yeah, it's sand, so it's pretty giving. But
Okay.
so
Yeah.
yeah, she's been doing the para dressage, which is through Equestrian Canada.
Hmm.
It's phenomenal. They have video competitions, so you're in the safety of your own barn. Plus, there's no cost of trailering and stabling.
Mm,
And then it goes from February to November. And so you start up a YouTube channel and you download the videos to the YouTube, and then you send it an actual para judges, like real, like Equestrian Canada qualified judges are judging you, and they're giving you scores back. And you have all the different grades. So in para, there's grade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So depending on which disability you have is where you're
right.
graded. Unfortunately, it's not for intellectual disability. So
Mm,
they've made a part for the intellectual disabilities, but she can't get classified, so she can't
mm,
compete on a larger stage. um so that's been our struggle with it. But Equestrian Canada now has made an intellectual disability category, and she came in second for all of Canada this last year. Prior years she actually came in, she's got high points champions twice out of the 4 years she's done it.
Oh,
So, and that's across
Lauren, way
Canada.
to go, bud.
So, and her coach, Erin McCormick, is on the board for the equestrian. So she's a big proponent, and her goal is to get her students, her even the therapy students, to be as independent as possible. So you see people who had to be led on a horse that are now independently, even if it's walking, there's a walk test, there's a walk trot test, walk trot canter, and then all the upper graded stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, she moved up a few levels and has competed, and now she has ventured into the able-bodied
Mm,
dressage,
mhm.
um, which is when she goes to BC to work with her cousin. That's where she does the able-bodied stuff, and actually was at a show in BC in October and
Second.
got second and third in the two tests. So,
Well
and
done.
and I'm just like this was 6 years ago is when she started the therapy. 8 years ago is when she got her first riding lesson. And I was like, I texted my husband Trevor and I said, we were at a lesson and she had fallen off and she got back on, and I texted him and said, "This isn't a phase. This isn't a
No.
I like horses type of thing."
Yes.
And it stuck, and I'm proud because she worked hard. She has worked extremely hard selling the
Absolutely.
tacos to do the therapy. She now works for her coach 3 days a week, works for her lease and her lesson, goes to help her cousin in BC, who's a high performance coach for show jumping,
Oh, wow.
hunters, jumpers, and dressage,
Okay.
and even eventing. So she goes out there and is able to work with the big guys that she's got out there. And she's got a gift. She's got a way of she's controlling a 1,200-pound beast with her fingers and her
Yep.
thighs.
Yep. That
So
is a
tell me
gift
that's
right
not
there,
a
kiddo.
sport.
It is a sport.
Yep.
It is a sport.
It is a sport for
So,
sure. Yeah. So is dancing and so is cheer. I mean,
yep,
those are hard to do. I mean,
yep.
gracious, I sure couldn't do it right now. I could have when I
Oh,
was
I
your age,
watched, yeah.
but
But even watching some of those, what they call basket tosses and stuff, I'm just like,
I don't have the
yeah,
confidence for that. Nope.
no. But horses basically saved her life. I would have to, like, that's what I say, flat out. That's my bottom line. She found another group of people that's accepting. And
Mhm.
wherever we've gone in this horse world, I'm telling you, the other women and the other girls in the sport have just been so accepting and just understanding and encouraging. And I'm like, yeah, this is our people.
Oh, that is
So
so wonderful. So what's your favorite part of being with horses?
Everything.
Do you have a favorite kind of horse? Besides the fact that it has 4 legs? I mean,
yeah,
Um,
you used to want to paint really badly.
I want like a dappled gray one
Dappled gray. Look that up.
mm,
or a palomino.
Yeah.
ah, okay.
But yeah, she's ridden the small ones. Now she's riding two big guys. Thumper is her horse
Mhm.
out here in BC.
Or
He
schedule.
Oh yeah. I'm sure. Yeah, where are we? I can't even tell what province I'm in anymore. That's how much traveling we've done. Out here in Saskatchewan, her horse is named Thumper. He's 17 hands high, so he's a big guy. He's a
Yeah.
gentle giant. He's
How do you measure
he's
hands for a horse?
it's a 4 inches. So it's the hands, yeah, like that, literally, and it's up to their
Withers.
withers. So it doesn't
Which is,
include the head, right
what's a
behind their
wither?
neck. The
Okay.
wither is
Bump right on the head.
yeah, the bump
Yeah.
behind the neck. So yeah.
Kinda like this thing
So
right here. This
yep,
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah,
now I have a name for the bump behind my neck. Good.
yeah. So yeah, Thumper's a big guy. She started with a smaller guy, Chevy,
Mhm.
and then Cutter. He was step up a little bit, and then
Thumper.
Thumper, and then in BC, she rides Jewel, who's that's her barn name. Her registered name is Romeo's Child. She goes by the mare Mama Jewel, and she's also 17 hats,
Same height.
same height as Thumper, same age as Thumper. They're both beige in color. She
And
has
bay is
a
kind of a
Jewel
reddish color. Is that right?
brown.
Brown.
Is it
Okay.
Oh, Thumper's a chestnut? Sorry. Thumper's a chestnut. That's the red.
That's the red. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
So when
yeah.
you talk about a ginger horse, it's and a redhead, it's generally a chestnut. And then you
Okay.
get a chestnut mare. Attitude. They get spicy.
I have
But
no
yeah,
idea
no,
what you're
Jules.
talking about. Oh my word.
But yeah, and then yeah, so she's gotten to ride a few horses out in BC. Yeah, because she works for it. Like she's always willing to learn. She wants to, improve, and it's just in her. It's just her drive. Like she doesn't have it in
Mhm.
her to slouch off.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
the people you work for, like your coach and your cousin, they're not gonna just let you do nothing, right? They're gonna make
Mhm.
you work. So what kind of work do you do for them?
Cleaning pens, stalls,
Cleaning
Mhm.
tack,
cleaning tack.
leading lessons.
Yes, reading lessons.
What do you do for the lessons when you lead it? Like, what do I mean when I say leading lessons?
Um,
So there's different levels of therapy. People who come to her barn here, some have cerebral palsy, some are autistic, some are brain injuries, and so some of them need more help when they're on the horse. And so there are sidewalkers. So that's literally what you are. Like there's people holding them up on the side, and then someone has to
Mm,
lead the horse. And because she knows her patterns with dressage, because you see letters around a dressage ring, and so then
right,
she'll say, "Let's do a circle at B." Or let's change the rain, all that. And
right.
so she loves helping with the lessons with that, and it's quite rewarding seeing, because you see this people working up, and like there's been some students that can barely walk and stand up, and now they're like independent and doing stuff, and it's you just
Wow.
got to give people a chance. It's
Yes,
like the right
yes.
therapy, the right placement, and the right support. And
Yep.
yeah,
So, Lauren, you're basically a teacher's assistant is what you are. You know the EAs you used to have in school? You're now one of those people. That's cool.
mhm,
yeah,
That's a lot of learning you
yeah.
had to do to get there. So I'm
mhm.
really I'm really impressed with how well you've done. This is awesome.
When we were going through the genetics part of it, we
Yeah.
and they came back with the microcephalia diagnosis. The geneticist comes in the room with a counselor. And so the geneticist said, "Yep, she's got microcephalia." He goes, "I would start looking into institutions for her. I think she'll have to be there. You'll probably need help with her. She probably will never be independent. She'll probably never do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way to Z." And I'm just shocked and sitting there like just stunned. And so he said his spiel, did hit, said it, and this was like the final appointment. And so then he walked out, and then I just looked at Trevor and I burst into tears. And that's why there's a counselor beside them. And she grabbed my hand and she said, "He has to give you the worst case scenario. Like that's literally his job." But she said, "This isn't the be all and end all." But
Right.
that stuck. And I was just like,
Oh,
really? Like
yeah.
that's all that's in store for her? And
Oh,
I
that's
was like,
terrible.
I was stunned and shocked, and this is where the grieving part kind of came in. And so
For
talking to
sure.
a friend in town who has worked with adults with disabilities, and she knew Lauren. And so I
Mhm.
went to her and I said, is this her future? And my friend, she was like, "No, no." She said, "No, no, no, no." She said, "No, no, I know you." and and the
We've
support.
met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'm blessed that I was able to do it. Trust me, I know not everyone
Mhm.
can do it, but I knew that that's where I was meant to be. And
Mhm.
so that became like I have two children. I supported them equally, and our older son understood that Lauren just needed a little extra help.
Yeah.
And so and that's why I'm such an advocate for parents to find support. Like if you can't be a stay-at-home mom and you're working, that's fine. It's just let's support her. Like
Yeah.
let's help her. Like it's just this is where I get tongue-tied because I don't know what the answer is, but I just want to help all those moms
Mhm.
out there that have been told your kid will never do A, B, C, D, E, never be thriving like she is
Right.
today. And
Right.
it hurt and it stung, and I thought, well, what is she going to be in the back of Dollarama counting Hot Wheels for the rest of her life? Or like,
And for
and
some
then
people,
the
that
horse.
might be the best that they can do,
And
and at least they're
yeah, not
counting.
that's true. That is not, I'm not downplaying that, because that for some people, the fact that they're being independent and have a job,
Yeah.
um, But I knew for her, like once we got into the teen years, I'm like, there has to be more. And then that's when the horse thing kind of fell in. And then
Mm,
we realized that, yeah, okay. And she can actually make a living at it. Like, you
that's
know,
big. That's really big.
so yeah. And that's what everyone needs to find for their child in their specific situation. I'm like, I mean, we were told they're like, well, you should be thankful that she doesn't have Down syndrome. Well, you should be thankful she doesn't have this, this, and this. And I'm like, yeah.
Each of them has
I mean,
such a
yes, but it's
oh,
like,
wow.
but this is our struggle, and you can't
Yeah.
compare child to child. You can't even
No.
compare other microcephaly people because it's so different. I
Oh,
mean, even in,
absolutely.
I mean, I hate the word normal because normal is only a setting on your dryer, but
Exactly.
able-bodied people, like, you still can't compare them to each other. I'm
There's
like, you
a
get two
there's a term
candidates,
for there's a term for normal people that I've been hearing lately. It's called normies, you know,
normies.
normies. Like they're not like no
Uh,
such thing as normal, but I mean somebody who
yeah,
is like my husband and your husband are very neurotypical, right?
yes,
Whereas
yeah,
I am neurodivergent. Lauren, you are also neurodivergent, and divergent just means you go a different direction. It doesn't
yeah.
mean that you can't think. It means that you think a
And
different way.
I really like the term neurodivergent or
Mhm.
neurospicy. I've heard
Yes.
that term before,
Yep.
but
Neurosparkly.
and I
I'm neurosparkly.
oh yeah, and I just have been recently diagnosed with ADHD, adult
Ah,
onset, and I'm like, oh, does life make so much more sense
I
now?
know. I
It's
was
like,
your age when
and
I
I
was
start
diagnosed.
and I started medication, and I kid you not, within 6 hours of taking that first pill, I sat at this dining room table and went, "There's no inner dialogue. There's no
Yeah.
voices like doing this." I said the hamster finally went for a sleep because I've had or squirrel brain. But yeah, so the term neuro or whatever normal just bugs me. But
Yeah.
yeah, neurospicy, yeah,
Yep.
neurosparkly, I like that.
Yep.
But and there's a place for us in this world. Like this world would be a boring place without.
Oh, wouldn't it though? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's there's only so much that gray can do, right? You're in a
Mhm.
gray room.
Yep.
I am not a big fan of the color gray, but it's a great background for other things, right?
Yep.
When you have something that is simple and like this here is just a sheet on my wall,
Yep.
but it's something that just gives a nice background, right?
Yep.
And that's what the normies do for the rest of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I always said having a weird I have a shirt I was going to get a shirt done and it says having a weird parent gives your children character.
Yes. Yes, my
So
girls have
you're
grown in
welcome.
that.
But yeah, it's just finding the place for these neurodivergent kids and just there's a place for
Absolutely.
all of them. And um yeah.
Yeah. So what are you guys doing lately? There's a banner I have here to show. What is this?
All right. So this it's hard for me to get a job because for me to go to a store and say, I'd like to work, I was going to apply to retail, but sorry, I can't work these times because I have to drive her to work, or
Yeah.
we're going to BC or other places for opportunities. So we created Fire and Hope Equestrian. We're in the horse world, and I love graphic t-shirts. I love fun sayings. So we combine the two and we have Fire and Hope Equestrian. And the name comes, my son's name is Aiden and it means fire. And her middle name is Hope. So that's where Fire and Hope came from. And I just like the sound of it together.
Yeah.
And so we now have created a line of equestrian themed t-shirts. Um, they're if you don't know all the horse lingo, you might not get them. But we have like hunter, jumper, and dressage themed shirts. We have a shirt that says she's got legs and she knows how to use them. So all you Gen Xers and older will get the
Yes, I
song
love
meaning.
that.
But when you
Yeah.
listen to her coach, you'll hear them yell, more leg, more leg. So, and my husband came up with that. He
And it
goes,
has
yeah, you
nothing to
should,
do with the
she's
slit in
got,
the skirt.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that, and then we have one that says, I got off my horse to be here, so this better be good. And I think that's any horse book.
That
That's
says it
whether
right there.
you, yeah. So we started that, and then the other thing that we've been making are, I don't know if people can see, are they're keychains,
Mhm.
and we take old leather jackets
So
and we
hold it
make
up and put your
strips.
hand behind it, Mel. There you now hold it closer to the camera.
There we go.
There you go. Yeah.
So
Oh, that's
that's
gorgeous.
this one. Actually, this one doesn't have a tag on it. So these have a tag. See if I can get this right. That says "Protect this rider and the horse she rides on," and then it's
Mhm.
got a cross and a horseshoe charm on it. So these are all made from old leather jackets. So we're
Mm.
making those, and then we just started with bracelets. Do you want to put your hand behind it? We started making these bracelets out of leather as
Mhm.
well, and then they have charms that hang on them. And then and we also have ones for bikers. So this is for bikers, like motorcyclists. It says protect this rider and the road he travels on.
Oh,
And
that's
there's a cross
gorgeous.
and an angel wing. And then
I
we
know a
have a
family who needs
coat.
I know a couple families who need that one.
Yeah. And then we have coach ones as well. So there's a
Okay.
thank you and a heart. And this one says, a great coach is hard to find and impossible to forget.
Oh.
So, oh, and then we're just adding one that says, Jesus, take the reins.
I love it. Oh, that's
I know.
awesome.
It's like that's been what we're doing. And with that, with the sale of our t-shirts, 10% from every t-shirt sold, we are putting in our Fire and Hope Fund, and we want to help pay for other kids with disabilities equestrian therapy. Because there's some
Wow.
students that can't do it because of the money is hindering,
That's right.
or they need that extra lesson, and or they need a special saddle. We helped another
Mhm.
girl who has no legs. She was doing paradressage, but she needed a saddle, and so we just gave them, through the equilibrium therapeutic riding. So it's our way for us to work, and I can take it on the road because we're between here in BC and Manitoba for the next 6 months, and I can put
Mhm.
it all in a Rubbermaid and take it with me and go to the opportunities. We're going to the Brandon, the Royal Manitoba Winter Fair, which is 7 days. Um, equestrian events, cattle, all that. It's where our people are.
Yeah.
And she learns people skills. She learns business. She learns, it all. And so, yeah, so Fire Hope, yeah, so you can see us. That's our website. And
Mhm.
then on Facebook, we're Fire and Hope Equestrian. On Instagram, we're FH Equestrian. And then we're sort of in TikTok. I have a personal TikTok, and it's kind of business, and that's Prairie Girl 23, I think. I don't know.
I don't do TikTok.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
I,
not
I'm the Gen Xer who's just like, yeah, it's my creative outlet, so
Yep.
I love doing stuff
Yep.
on there. But yeah, so the support that we've received so far has been phenomenal, and we literally just started the company in November, so we're brand new. Oh, and we have toques
Oh, yeah. Those are
as well.
cute toques.
So again, this is leather patches from old leather jackets that I've branded with an
Wow.
actual blowtorch and a brass template.
Wow.
So if you've got horse
That's
people in your life,
cool.
just yeah,
Yeah.
let us know.
Okay. We have a couple people watching. Do you have any questions for us? Because Melanie
Yep,
and Lauren are very open individuals, and I'm an oversharer. So,
yep. So
we'll
my
we'll answer almost anything, whether it's about microcephaly, whether it's about mental illness, whether it's about
yep,
parenting somebody who needs extra help. Those are things that we are all definitely
yep,
experienced in. I won't say experts, but we are definitely
yep,
experienced.
yeah. I've had like she's now 19, so having been a parent who started at age 4, we've kind of gone through
Mhm.
And I love to support those parents. I'm like, just keep going, mom. Like, if you have a gut feeling on something, push through and just push through and get that stinking piece of paper that you need,
Absolutely.
unfortunately. It opens doors and yeah, like we've tried to go to all the facilities, like Alvin Buckwold, all of those. We've been told doesn't meet the mandate,
Mhm.
not severe enough.
Mhm.
It's frustrating, so we just have had to find workarounds or other options, or just
Mhm.
we've been upfront with Lauren, as she's been able to understand, we've always been upfront with you learn differently. It's
That's
not
right.
bad.
No.
Different isn't bad. I've been saying that a lot
Right.
this week, haven't I? For other reasons, but yeah, we won't go into it. But yeah, no, different isn't bad. And that's what see the ability, not the disability. That's another phrase I've been using. And
Absolutely.
um so yeah, I mean, if anyone wants to ask questions about path we had to take, things have changed a little. Like I said, she's 19, so things might have changed in the diagnosis part, but on how you get there. But that
Something that, a lot of people probably that whoever that silly doctor was at the beginning who was telling you all of the limitations that Lauren would have would never have believed Lauren went to college for a year.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like,
She went
wow.
a plane ride and 2 ferry rides away from mom and dad. We were
Mhm.
on the ferry. We left her at Cape and Ray on Thetis Island, and we were going away in the ferry. And Trevor looked at me and goes, "What have we done?" Kind of like, we have that. I hope she's fine. And then we
Yeah.
got a text 2 days later saying, "Mom, me and my roommates were friends the first night," and we're like, "Okay, yeah, I'm good."
Yeah, exactly.
So I know you've been told things, and it's don't let that be your limitations.
No.
But know what your limitations are. And that's
Yeah.
what we've had to put parameters around her, like who she's hangs out with, where she goes. She's got an app on her phone that we can track her at any time.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, use technology to your advantage, and just Janine just sent a message there, and I just appreciate the
Mhm.
support. Janine, we've known each other since we were at camp, kids at camp. So,
Oh, wow.
and we
Hi,
went to Bible
Janine.
school together. So, yeah, it's cool to see that. And
Yeah, good advocacy is hard to find, and,
yeah,
it's a skill. Like, the fact that you are able to do this, that's a lot of work. So you say you don't work outside the home, you sure do. You do a
yeah,
lot of work outside the home.
I've
So
learned
you
to
just don't
not
get paid
say
for it.
I'm like I used to say, well, I'm just a mom. And I'm like, take the word just out of there.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep, get rid of that word.
yeah.
If something is
And like I
just,
said,
that means it's justice rather than
yeah,
simply,
yeah.
right?
And like I
Yeah.
said, I know I was blessed to be able to stay home. And Trevor and I had talked about this early on. Like this
Mhm.
was the way our marriage was going to work, and it's the way we were going to raise our kids. And you know, it's what worked for us. So
Yeah,
it's a different template for each family, the way
for
they
sure.
deal with
Yeah.
stuff.
I personally had every intention of being an at-home mom, but I found that I was a better mom when I wasn't an at-home mom. I
Hmm.
would lose my temper too much. It was just very difficult for me having not been diagnosed with several different mental illnesses and
Yeah,
not being able to control an out of control brain, right?
yeah,
ADHD is difficult. ADHD on top of a few other things, I am very
hmm
neurosparkly. And it's one of those things that just I understand how difficult your job has been. This whole this whole advocacy is just a difficult job for you. And I agree with Janine. I've marveled at how well you've done at this over the years. It's been excellent.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm blushing and almost crying. So it's yeah. I'm proud. Like yeah. I always have said it takes a village, and I have needed my village. My village has changed. Like
Mhm,
as she was 4 to when she was 10. People have come and gone out of the village,
mhm.
but so my advice to those going through a diagnosis is get a village, thoroughly vet those people, make sure you trust them. And people
Yep.
come and go out of that village. Like one time we got into mental health in
Mhm,
Saskatoon. And so she was seeing a psychologist, and
mhm.
her name was Crystal. And she said, for once, I want to be proactive instead of reactive. Because we were told, well, does your daughter like is she close to unaliving herself?
Mm,
Um is she violent? Is she, like all these things? And I'm like, well, no. But
mhm.
and so this Crystal, she goes, well, I want to be proactive with Lauren before she slides down the depression trail, which is very common for
Yep,
kids with disabilities.
yep.
No matter what functioning level, there's always a sense of depression that can easily set in. And
Mhm,
Crystal, she kind of looked at me, she goes, you've done too good of a job with Lauren. And meaning that as a compliment, as in like, good for you in like making sure that she has everything within our means, and
mhm,
and all that.
mhm.
So she came and went, she gave us great tools. There's still tools to this day that I refer back to what Crystal taught Lauren. And in the role playing, because Lauren's a visual and kinesthetic learner,
Right?
so you can't just rattle off instructions to her, because as soon as you've listed the second one, the first one's gone. So
I
she
I
was so
understand
good.
that. Yeah.
The visual things that we were given, and I talked to a couple of friends, and they're like, well, even normal kindergartners need stuff like this. Like
Mhm,
this is, you know, so
mhm,
so it was almost just as much therapy for me as
mhm.
it was for her.
Okay.
And it helped. Like I said, I keep going back to the grieving part as a parent, and you need to go through that when you have a
Yeah.
kid with a disability, no matter what level. And it's an acceptance, and
Mhm,
it's what you do with that grief.
mhm.
um don't wallow, don't stay too long in there.
Right.
um and then have the people to that lean on and support. And I mean, we've had some very rude people talk to her, and they
Yeah.
just don't understand. And I shouldn't have to explain my daughter to all these people, and then we go, oh, you mean she can't help what she does? And I'm like, yeah, in
And you can't
essence.
help being a jerk, so, beyond that,
I
it's
Yeah, I, I feel like handing them a card saying, here's a therapist, you
Yeah. Oh,
go.
wow.
So yeah, we've had encounters with people that just didn't understand her. And I'm like, she looks like she's 19, but socially and intellectually she's, quite a few years younger, but she's always catching up. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's the rudeness that it's like I can be snarky back. And I
Yeah.
maybe have been a couple of times, but
I
you
can't
know,
imagine, Melanie. That's just
yeah,
can't imagine.
that mama bear that they always
Uh,
refer to, it comes
oh,
out.
yeah. Well, I've
But
met a
it
woman recently who, is the mom of a young lady with autism, and she was told very similar things. Your child will never do, never do, never do. Her daughter's now an adult and married. Like,
nice.
those are dreams that
Yep.
aren't out of the realm of possibility. You just have to have
Yep.
the right partner for the right
Hmm.
person, right?
Yep.
Just because you have microcephaly, just because you learn differently, just because you will never be a doctor does not mean, Lauren, that you can't find a partner, somebody to be with who, like your mom and dad, have been together since they were teens, right? Mr. Pratt and I, we have been together for, well, since I was 18 years old. So you're a year older now than when we started dating. Get on it, girl.
Yep. No, no, you're absolutely right. Like, and that's what Trev and I try to still model that to our kids,
Absolutely.
whether you're neurodivergent and spicy or a normie, like
Yep.
I
Yep.
just say like I think almost everybody else in the world needs the therapy
Oh,
to
yeah,
help,
absolutely. Yeah,
help be acceptable. And unfortunately, it starts with parents.
it does.
It starts with parents. Where do you think kids get any behavioral um issue? Like not every, but you know what I mean? Like there's certain things
Yep.
that are learned. And I have found that sometimes the apple doesn't fall far from the tree when you get rude and then you meet the parent, you're like, yeah, okay.
Yep.
But
Now
those are
I
the
will
barriers.
advocate a little bit for parents. I do have a friend whose child was totally different at school than they were at home.
Yes.
They were not nice kids at school,
Yeah.
whereas at home, they were great, had good
Yep.
families, good parents, good relationships. But as soon as that kid went to school, that little bit of independence was enough to go,
Yeah.
just, yeah,
Yeah. I didn't mean to broad brush. Sorry. Yeah. That you're totally right on that.
yeah,
But I always say, yeah, you have to model at home and do what you can
absolutely.
at home. Um,
Yeah,
for the acceptance and stuff.
yeah.
And then you just gravitate towards the people who have shown the love and support to her. It's kind of like
Mhm.
my love language is gifts and
Yeah.
cupcakes kind of falls in that. And I'm like, people who have like loved on our girl, it's like, it's where the whole, during COVID, I used to bring cupcakes to people. You've been cupcaked. And I just,
You've brought cupcakes
yeah,
to me. I was very, very happy to receive them. Thank you.
I couldn't keep track. I had a list and I was just going, oh. But yeah, it's as a parent with a kid with disability, anyone who shows respect to your child, I will
Yeah.
do almost anything for you. And it's just like her coach Erin here, her cousin Joelle in BC. I will do anything. And yes, it's an ulterior motive. I want Lauren to have um the chance to do that.
The
And so
opportunities that
yeah, the
yeah.
opportunities, that's the word. And so I will drive to BC. I will like take her to a show. I will clean stalls, clean pens if that means she can have a chance.
Mhm.
And I've noticed that yeah, parents with kids with disabilities, when their kid is accepted, it's like you'll do almost anything,
Yep.
to say thank you, because
Yes.
sometimes,
Well, that
we're just
child
so
is
grateful.
everything to you. I mean,
Hmm.
you may have one child who is neurotypical and one child who isn't, and both are so important. I just really hope that more parents can, like you guys have done, you've kept your neurotypical son in just as high a priority as your
Hmm.
neuroatypical
Yeah.
daughter, right? Your neurodivergent
Yep.
daughter.
Yep.
And that's something that more parents need to learn to
Yep.
do. You guys have balanced beautifully.
That's one of the things the psychologist did tell us. She
Mhm.
actually would say, "How is Aiden doing?" Like,
Mhm.
she
Mhm.
goes, "If he ever needs to come in," like she goes, "Make sure you don't forget." And
That's right.
yeah, it's very good to keep
That's when
that
he'll start
balance.
to
And
act out,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, she's still responsible for stuff too. Like, she still has to clean her room and clean the bathroom and stuff. Like,
Mhm.
and even now, like with the horses, like you've got to put in the time if you want to do this and,
Mhm.
put in the effort. And her teachers have always joked if she could have done math on a horse, it might have been a different story.
The horse has to go this many steps to get from A to B. How many
Yeah.
steps in a canter does that take? How many steps
Well,
at a
that's
trot?
even in show jumping, you need to know how many steps. Like if you watch them walk the course before they go,
Yep,
it's really they know how many steps. There's math, but
yep.
it's to me, math makes sense on a horse. It's like,
Y You know what? My mom was convinced she could never be a nurse because she can't do fractions. Well, I'm sorry, mom, but you're an excellent baker. You
yep,
cook, you sew, you do lots of fractions, you just don't think about it,
yep. And
right?
that's the thing, like for her working at Bethany, like working with Martha there in the kitchen, like, they were baking, they had to measure.
Yep,
And I
yep.
mean, it's there is everyday skills that can be taught at school. and vice versa,
Absolutely.
skills at home that carry over.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. So was there anything else that you want us to know about microcephaly, about Lauren, about your family? Lauren, is there anything you want to tell people?
I don't know.
Love each other. Be kind.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, kindness goes a long
absolutely.
way, and yeah. Other
Yeah.
than that, I think I've covered everything. If anyone ever wants to message me via Facebook
Mhm.
any or anything, I am more than willing, to give my personal side of things. I don't know everything. Things have changed since we've gone through stuff, but I just want to encourage all you
Yeah.
parents.
So if
Just
anybody
love
wants to get
them.
in touch with Melanie, you can email me at myotherskeeperis@gmail.com, and I will make sure Melanie gets the message that make sure she gets your contact information if you wanted to have her talk to you in particular. Um, Melanie is a very outgoing woman, and that's one of the things I love best about her. She's great. But yeah, you
I'm
can
not
contact
shy.
me and I can make sure that she gets it.
That sounds great. Thanks, Tim.
You're very welcome. Well, thank you very much for joining us and have a great night. Melanie, don't take off. I'm going to end the stream and
Okay.
we will finish up.
Okay, sounds good.
Bye.